This week's episode of Rockonteurs was recorded before the passing of Ronnie Spector.
Hello, Gary.
Hello, Guy.
A little bit envious of this one because we're about to speak to someone who's on an American tour.
I know. They're about to start their American tour in January, and we just cancelled ours, which had nothing to do with us personally. Postponed. And nothing to do with us personally. This was a call from the promoter in America who felt that we were too much of a risk given Omicron and
the general unhygienic nature of the band, I think.
And so we're quite sad about it, obviously, because and envious that these guys are going to go out. So we're going to Andy Bell on today from Erasure. I mean, they had a run in the late 80s, early 90s where I think they had something like 4 or 5 number one consecutive albums. You know, I mean, they've sold a lot of records, haven't they? I think The Innocents has sold something like 5 million records worldwide. I mean, it's huge.
Yeah, no, they've sold, their total is something huge. I haven't got the stats in front of me.
And Andy has written every song with Vince.
Yeah,
Clarke.
yes, starting from day one. Yeah, which there's a very funny story about the first one, which I hopefully will get out of him.
Look forward to that. So bring him on.
Welcome to the Rockonteurs.
Okay, guys, I'm ready.
This was great, guys. It's so great to talk to two guys that have done this.
Well, it's a big tune for sure. I actually wrote that originally for Tina Turner.
Of course, I had gone and found Joni Mitchell down in Florida and brought her back.
You know, what people forget about Bowie is that he was such a kind man.
I've listened to a few of them and they've been really good, man. I'm sitting in the back of the car coming into London. They're brilliant.
I know you're musicians, but you've been more professional than a lot of journalists.
Remember me? I'm in a band now. It's called Roxy Music.
You know this thing about the 10,000 hours of experience?
Oh, yeah.
Get good at something. When we recorded Arnold Lane, we'd done about 50 hours.
The Rockonteurs podcast with Gary Kemp and Guy Pratt.
Hey, Andy.
Hello, Andy. I'm Guy. Are you in Miami?
I'm in Miami, yeah.
Ooh.
Our show starts in 2 weeks.
We're obviously incredibly jealous of that because we've literally just cancelled our American tour, which was starting in 2 weeks.
Oh,
yeah.
no. Well,
Yeah.
ours is kind of... my sister was supposed to come, and we cancelled her, but, you know, the shows... Well, supposedly it's the first show at the Fillmore this time, and we're just hoping that, that it all turns out, because we've cancelled 3 times now. This is our 3rd time here, third time lucky. But we just have to see how it goes. I mean, on the last UK leg, we all got COVID on the very last show after the show. So that was really lucky.
Because there was a post-gig party, right?
There wasn't a post-gig party. No, it is really strange. You know, it's kind of like, I wouldn't say it's like being in prison because that's really bad. But being on the bus and stuff, I was just saying to Steve, I really like it being on the bus because you're kind of in your coffin sleeping. And then what's weird is when you don't have meet and greets and when you're not seeing people after the show, all there is the show and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like your whole concentration goes to that. And it's like, and I quite like that. I really like that.
I'm feeling slightly sort of red-faced as well, as being jealous because obviously we've had to cancel our tour, and I hope people out there
postpone as well.
Postpone.
Because I don't know whether you know, Andy, but Guy and I play with Nick Mason, and we do the Nick Secrets tour, and this has been pushed into this is January now, and it's been pushed into sometime in the near future, we hope. But it was just the promoter. Anyone listening out there is a little bit, well, how come they're doing it and we're not? The promoter in the States didn't want to continue with it in January, February. He just thought it was too risky, that we weren't going to, one of us wouldn't get it, or the crew wouldn't get it, and then 10 days in a hotel room and the tour goes bust.
But also, how big is your tour, and what sort of size places are you playing?
We kind of play from about, maybe
2 nights
500 up to...
No, about 2,500 to 5,000.
Oh, 2,500 to 5,000.
Yeah, you're doing 2 nights at Radio City, aren't you, in New York?
Yeah.
Oh, fabulous. Love Radio City.
Yeah, it is, though, really dicey, as you say, and it's the 3rd time that the tickets have been on sale. Well, then they haven't been on sale. This is the first time they've been on sale, and they've been bought. So that's why we're having to do the tour.
Everyone's working with the Rolling Stones health and safety protocol, aren't they?
Are they?
Yeah, that's the official one. I mean, it's brilliant.
I'm glad.
We live in a world that is so topsy-turvy that the Rolling Stones have become the absolute yardstick of public health and social responsibility.
No, that's great. That's great, though. I'm glad they're there because, because it is quite depressing. I don't quite like to go on about it, but when you're thinking about the stuff, and I don't know.
And your music especially isn't about people sitting in their seats, is it? It's always been a club show.
Not at all. Yeah, people stand up anyway, and I can't. To be honest, I can't quite believe that we've done it so far. That we've done the first third of it. Wow.
And we have to say congratulations. The Neon, your new album. That's kind of put you back up there. I mean, unbelievable. All these years, top 5 hit in the UK, and
we love doing it. We love recording it. We've always been recording the whole time, Vince and I. And you kind of, as lots of bands, you fall off the radar. And people think that you're not working anymore and stuff. But we've kind of been working the whole time, and this was our maybe 19th studio album.
Yeah. How does it work with you and Vince? Because isn't he's in Brooklyn, isn't he? Or is he?
Yeah, he's in Brooklyn, and as I say, my partner here, he's in Miami. So we go backwards and forwards. And usually when I'm here, I'll just pop down to New York and see Vince. It's a good excuse to go down there, and or he'll come down here, and we write either remotely or we go and. Vince is writing kind of demos really in his studio, and then I'll go and grab the mic in the studio and start warbling over the top of it. Just, doing, I don't know, I suppose it's toasting really.
Yeah. Does he always have something he started with? Because I'm sure I read him say once that he actually writes everything on acoustic guitar.
He swaps. He writes on guitar and piano. But I like him writing on synth, you see. So because I like my dance stuff so much and the electro stuff so much. I said to Vince, I want to be buried to an 8 bass line when they carry my coffin thing, But because
I can tell which ones he writes quite often.
Oh, you can tell. I bet.
I think so. Things like. I'd like to think that Blue Savannah was not just written on a synth, that it just feels much more.
Yeah, to be honest, I can't remember what Blue Savannah was written on. It was. That was kind of our ode to Roy Orbison.
Yeah,
and I did. Our first co-write proper was Sometimes the song. That was in 87.
Let's get to that in a bit because I'm jumping back just a bit too far. I just wanted to talk just a little. I wondered why you think the Neon is, after all, you've released a lot of albums and then suddenly, maybe they're just sort of floating around and they're doing okay, but then the Neon suddenly, what is it about that album?
I think because we, thankfully, there's a resurgence in vinyl now, but I think people always wanted hard copy from us, but with Neon. It just really reminded me or I reminded myself of being a teenager and going to the record shop and, wanting to buy that record of just kind of putting myself in that headspace of the bands that I was into then, like B-52s and Talking Heads and, going out and buying Lena Lovitch, and they were all from Andy's Records in Peterborough, and they're all printed in Portugal, and they weren't very good copies, but, you kind of, it got me really into music, and we just wanted to. We wanted to just recreate that feeling of buying a single.
That's one that we all come back to, isn't it? The one thing that's gone, that absolute thing. Going to buy a record and the excitement.
Definitely, when you're in a band, I think you not that you lose your way, but you kind of carry on as normal, don't you? And I think sometimes you lose the essence of why you were doing it in the first place, because it becomes a job.
I heard you say somewhere something about the imagery of Neon that was quite important to you as well.
Yeah,
as to why it became the Neon album.
Well, that was that's only like an aesthetic thing where I love when you go to these cities and they have like the old part of the city, which used to be where the downtown was, where you'd get the bars and clubs and places after hours. I love just like when you have a stone wall, an ancient stone wall, and then a neon sign on top of the stone wall, but kind of with these sort of muted, soft colours. And because to me that's kind of like time traveling. You've got two things that should work against each other, but they don't. They create kind of like a beauty in themselves, and you can get up to all sorts of nonsense once you get past the sign.
Well, that's it. It's one of the greatest sort of tropes of all time of movies and everything is just the reflection of the flashing neon sign outside the seedy hotel room.
It is,
But also, I wonder if this success has also been down to the fact there's a lot of bands and artists coming around now where electro pop is happening again and are referencing you as their big influence. I mean, I'm thinking about Years and Years, and obviously, there's a lot of synth pop artists out there. And Erasure seems to be a touchstone.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like we're always the quietest band, even though we make some of the loudest music or the most bombastic electronic music. I think we're one of the most quietest bands because we're on mute for one. An independent label.
I thought you meant, not because you're actually on mute, so no one can hear you.
No, not they were on. They were on mute before Zoom, right?
All the time. Yeah. But you, so you don't necessarily have like a huge amount of.
Guys, sorry, I need to say it's your label, right? I just need
that's our label.
Just for our listeners.
It's our label.
Daniel Miller. Yeah.
So you don't have we don't have like massive publicists or anything like that or big. It's all changed. And that changed in with the Spice Girls. I have to say, like the whole industry changed. But,
that's interesting.
Yeah. I think it did. We were asked in 1995. We had our first kind of experimental album, I suppose, which was called Erasure. And they said, "Would you put a scratch card on your single?" And we said, "No." But I'm not saying that's the whole reason why. But it kind of.
What was it? Scratch and sniff.
I think no, like for a lottery card. Like a lottery card.
Amazing.
So and that was to get your single in Woolworths or wherever it was.
I see what you're saying.
So we just said no, but I think
that's the sort of thing when New Order would have said yes, and it would have cost them £5 million because they got the sums wrong.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
They would have designed it.
Because like when you're in a band, you either, you go the whole hog and put your face on everything, or you just kind of be sensible and do the t-shirts when you're doing a tour.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. I wonder about you being quiet, and let me just pick up on that. This might be a little difficult for me to express and not trip up, but okay, Vince is quiet. We all know Vince is quiet.
Yeah.
He's probably hardly speaks to you, does he? I mean that's his image. Right? That's his image.
True. No, true.
That's his image. Was it harder being gay? Was it harder for you in the beginning, and certainly back in those days when it wasn't a scene? George got away with it because he was just like, he was super arch. But where you're not quite sure how to promote yourself to an audience that is mostly coming out of the 80s and 90s, either laddish in Brit pop or a girl audience, a female audience, and smash hits wanting you to appeal to them. Did you find that was a tricky road for you to travel?
I don't know. It's quite, I mean, you did feel like you were a kind of a trailblazer, and it was quite political for a while. Right in the middle of or right at the end of the 80s, I suppose, when you had bands like the Communards and Frankie Goes to Hollywood. It felt like we were kind of together. I felt like I was with Gimme, and we were kind of going round together and like doing things for Stonewall and. Act Up and stuff like that, which was quite political at the time, But at the same time, we had our pop careers on the other side, So it was kind of like I don't know. There was a lot of friction between Jimmy's fans and our fans as well.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because I was kind of I think I was seen as the lesser political version. Do you know what I mean? Like the softer pop version, I suppose. No,
Bronski Beat had already happened long before you.
Yeah, Bronski Beat
and they were the absolute standard bearers, weren't they?
I mean, that was amazing. That was really amazing, and Sylvester as well. That we'd had Sylvester before. That people, not that many people had heard of him, but of course I had.
Yeah,
you kind of went on. I don't know. You sort of felt like you were making a big, huge difference in the world, but then as you grow older, you kind of like I suppose that dissipates a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it was a harder time, certainly if you were out at that period.
Yeah,
not like now.
I think I don't sort of think about it so much. You know, you don't. I think I don't realise maybe opportunities that we didn't have because we had put ourselves in that position.
Yeah.
The thing is, what you're saying is remembering how political it was. If you think that during the 80s, like George and Elton were still not out.
No, it wasn't.
The world. Which you explain that to kids today would find that really baffling.
No, it was kind of like a really fine line that you had to tread at that time.
Yes.
Because you couldn't offend people. You couldn't offend people for not being out, and then at the same time you were out, and you didn't want to be a bitch and all this stuff. So it was.
Was it a conversation that you and Vince would have had at some point because I mean you audition for the band, he chooses you.
Yeah.
We could tell that story in a bit, I'm sure, but was it a conversation that he didn't mind how you promoted yourself?
Not at all. No, Vince thought it was totally cool. Honestly, he thought it was totally cool, and I really wanted to work with Vince. Out of all the people in the music business, then, I mean, I was a complete unknown. And I thought, who's the coolest person in the music business? And I thought it's Vince Clarke because to me he was the most left field person, And I've been proved right, which is sometimes to your own detriment, But
Vince is a genius.
He's incredible. He's incredible, but he's not going to do one thing that is like out of his comfort zone,
But what was I think it's quite nice? Is another thing that you. So I'm sorry to interrupt, Andy. I'm really sorry.
It's all right.
It's just that what I thought was really nice was that rather than you deciding kind of on an agenda, it's that your thing was you just didn't lie when you were asked questions in interviews.
That was it exactly. That was it. Yeah. When I mean, I didn't realise how cool Vince was either. I kind of I thought I knew he was cool, but then when we first started working in the studio, it was like. They did everything to accommodate me and kind of make me feel comfortable because I was so shy. I was like, I wouldn't say a word to anyone. And then they said they thought that I might be gay because I had all these boys coming to the studio to visit me. So I was basically showing off to them, But then we, I was singing Oda Moore and couldn't reach the end, the last note of the chorus and stuff or the beginning, and it just took me back to my days being in the choir at school and not being able to reach the end of the line and just looking down and twiddling your shorts kind of thing, So they were experimenting and Flood had me laid down on my back on the floor so my chest was open, and your voice was open, and they were telling me these jokes and trying to make me laugh, and I thought, God, I must have been a right miserable soul.
Did your chest open?
It did open, yeah. It opened. And then I only came up. Vince had written all these songs. Honestly, he's got these riffs of songs, and he had this song, and he didn't have a title for it. And I just said, "Oh, how about Ola Moore?" And then he gave me 50% of the writing just for coming up with that one word. And then I just thought, well, two words. And I thought, like, what is this guy like?
Yeah. So were you thinking, this is brilliant, I'm only ever going to have to come up with two words for every song?
No. I mean, he was amazing.
If I come up with four, do I get the whole song?
No, it wasn't easy. In the beginning, I thought it was going to be, it's Vince Clarke. He's a genius, and I was a huge Yazoo fan. And that's where I practiced along to with my own singing. So I picked up Alison's intonations in her voice.
Yeah, you can hear that on the early track.
Yeah, so it was all in there. So it's like critics in the beginning were like, "Oh, well, he's just this second-rate Alison Moyet." And da, da, da. So it took me a while to find my own character, my own, who I was. And Vince just stood by me, and he, the first album was a flop, and then. They could have just dropped me easily. And he said, no, we'll just start again and go get in the van and go around and play in the clubs. And he really wanted to have a band from scratch.
I'm just wondering if we should run with this, because that's like the live thing I want to talk about. But this is probably the chance to jump right back. Let's go right back. Should we go right back? Gary, should we go right back?
I do, but I just really want to also give a little bit of Vince's story, really, because people who aren't really before you actually enter the world, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, you probably know him more, Gary, than I do.
I love to give people's backstories when it involves me. Obviously.
Yeah.
And it didn't really involve me, but I did see this young Vince once before he got signed. In I think 19, we must have just played Top of the Pops, with to cut long story short, and we heard that there was this other new romantic club down in Rayleigh on near Basildon.
Basildon, yeah.
And it was called Crocs.
Crocs,
And we went down there to see a band called Soft Cell, who were managed by Steve-O. And we walked into this room and Steve-O just came. I remember him coming over to Steve Dagger, our manager, and falling on his knees, saying, please, can we support you? And he was managing Soft Cell. But Soft Cell that night were supported by Depeche Mode.
Yeah.
So
they were.
I remember watching them very clearly, and Vince's face, which is, fairly unique, it stuck in my mind. But Vince obviously went on to write those early hits for Depeche Mode, and then left the band as they were just about to become enormous. And happened with Started Yazoo, with Alison Moyet. She said there was another band, wasn't there, that he
there was was it the Association?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, the Assembly Project.
The Assembly. That's what I said. That's what I said. The Assembly Project.
That's the one. You're thinking
that was going to be with like a multitude of singers, and that.
Yeah, like sort of BEF type thing, wasn't it? That was quite.
Yeah, that was like his soul to soul sort of thing, and then I'm glad it didn't work out. Sorry.
I bet you are.
So you're a wee lad, right? You're a wee lad when in 1981 when I'm in Crocs. I mean,
I was like 20 or 19. Yeah.
So what was the music that you grew up on?
Well, it's the same. It was you guys. It was Soft Cell. I liked weirdos, so I kind of went for Nina Hagen and Lena Lovitch, and as weird as I could get. Gina X, yes, but yeah, I kind of I had this thing because living in Peterborough, when straight guys started wearing makeup, I just thought they shouldn't be allowed to wear it because they weren't gay. That was my thinking when I was like 17 or 16 years old, which is, I know it's wrong now, but at the time I thought, you're not wearing it properly because you're not gay.
My mum thought I was wearing it because I was gay.
But it's funny because the makeup thing is a generational thing. It goes back to mods. I mean, it probably goes back to Ted's. And it's almost like Men in Dresses. It's like every generation this thing comes up again and people go, oh my God, it's like, mate, it's been happening for years.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just I remember we were, I used to go around these people's houses. It's usually if they were in a band or something in Peterborough, and then I had my my eyeliner on and stuff, and then went round there, and he goes, "Oh God, Andy, how do you get it so it's all so nice around the edge of your eyes?" So I said, "Oh, well, you just smudge it before you go out." It was just these like little things that they didn't realise.
What were your first records though?
I mean, my mum and dad, they had records. So they had singles from like the 1950s, which I loved, which was like the Kalin Twins, lots of Elvis, kind of mixed with country and Western stuff. So, and then
Roy Orbison, was there any Roy Orbison? I'm just wondering if that fed into Blue Savannah.
Yeah, they had Skeeter Davis, Charlie Pride. Who else?
Well, you did a Buddy Holly cover, didn't you?
We did, yeah. I love Buddy Holly. I really love Buddy Holly, and and I loved it that my parents were fans as well, because they were only teenagers when they met. So I mean that they were fans of pop music, Right. So then I kind of my favorite album of my parents was Phil Spector's Greatest Hits. So I got that. That was just imbued into me from really young, and. It was just that sound that I loved it. And there's one track, Walking in the Rain by the Ronettes, which can't. I mean, we did a terrible version of it, but I just can't get it out of my skin, that song, It just makes me get goosebumps and every time when I hear it.
But I can hear that euphoria that's in his songwriting. I can hear that in what you do.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm waiting for still. Is
still trying to make that
crying, just having that crying in it makes you feel like you haven't been hurt enough, which is wrong. It's the wrong thing to say, because you can't wish that on yourself. But just for that heartache.
Who wrote that song? Who wrote that song?
It would have been Phil, wouldn't it? Phil and Ronnie, I suppose.
I guess. Yeah.
I don't know. For that's tragic as well. That story. Not Ronnie not even being able to sing her own songs for a whole career.
Oh, I don't know that story. In that.
No.
Yeah, she when she wasn't allowed by Phil. He barred her.
Yes.
Ever. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So my first singles were. I have to admit to Dancing Queen. I have to say that because that was one that was on my ITT Combat Command radio that my nan had bought me that you could do Morse codes. So I had it hidden.
Did you have to wear your Clarke's Commandos to listen to that?
I didn't have any. No, I had I left Cub Scouts on the day we got the uniform, so my mum was really pissed off with me. But I think it was all about the uniform though. And then once you got it, that was it. But no, with Dancing Queen, whenever it came on the radio, I ran upstairs into my bedroom and opened the window and put it on full blast so the whole world could hear it, the song. Apart from that, my first album was Lena Lovitch.
That's very cool.
With Say When on it, Say When, yeah, and I love Stiff Records.
Mm-hmm. And did you want to be a musician? Is that...
Well, to be honest, I kind of didn't think about it because I was very musical, but I didn't think about it. Because I sang all the time, and I kind of sang in bed, and I would get told off for singing in bed.
You're in the choir?
No, when I was in school,
right.
And I'll be singing in bed, and Mum and Dad would say, "Shut up, go to sleep," But to me, that's quite a good tip for singers or want to be singers is when you're in bed because you can feel your whole body and your rib cage and stuff while you're singing, and you can feel that if you want that sadness in your voice, you can feel the whereabouts to vibrate it, kind of.
Wow.
Anyway,
that's obviously why I got you to lie on the floor later on when you were trying.
Yes, that's it. That is it.
In fact, I'm surprised they didn't bring a bed into the studio for you.
We're all just pipe organs, aren't we? Really, we're all just pipe organs.
I remember. Yeah, I remember when we did our first album, and Richard Burgess, James Burgess, who was James Burgess was producing it, and he didn't know what to do with Tony's voice because it was so big. And on one song, he wanted him to be a bit quieter. And I remember he got him to lay on the floor, and he got one of the Turkish rugs and he'd lay it over him like
on top of him.
Put a microphone in there. And I don't think Tony's ever really forgiven Richard for doing it. He thought it was rather humiliating, but he gave him the job.
No, that sounds quite sweet to me. That sounds sort of quite gentle and, a nice way of doing it.
Sean Ryder once did a Happy Mondays, or he was at some studio at Oasis Studios, and he wouldn't. He came in wearing a crash helmet. He was quite paranoid for some reason, and he wouldn't take it off, and insisted on doing his vocals with a full face crash helmet on.
Oh no! So they must have been hitting him over the head then with something.
Is there a moment of epiphany though before you decide to answer this Melody Maker ad that Vince had?
You were in a band. You were in a band, weren't you? You were in a band.
I was. Yeah, I was in a band.
The Void, I believe.
Yeah, it was called The Void. It was a 4-piece band. We had a drummer and a guitarist and a keyboardist. And we were, one of those kind of garage bands.
How would you have found yourself? Was there a sort of big musical peer group you had at school? Or
not at all. I tried to be in a band like twice in school, and that never worked out. And then, I left Peterborough because it was too small to be in a band. So I moved to London with a group of social workers, and so I ended up kind of tidying the house and stuff for them when they were doing their training. And so they would come back and tell me all their social work ills, and then I persuaded the bass player in the band to leave and form a duo because we weren't doing anything. And then we met a guy called Pete Gage, who was a producer from Vinegar Joe. Who was in the band.
Yes, with Robert Palmer and
So we had Pete Brooks, for probably we were with him for about a year and a half doing demos and things. he paid for our studio time, and then that didn't work out. So then I was looking in the paper and I saw this advert. But in the meantime, I'd been for another audition, which was for a spin-off Bow Wow Wow band. I mean, I saw Vince Clarke in the studio in Blackwing, which he half owned with Eric. And then I thought, oh, that's Vince Clarke. Well, maybe I should write him a letter. And then the next thing was his advert in the paper. So I just thought, this is.
Did he say Vince Clarke?
Did you know it was Vince Clarke? Because
I knew it was Vince Clarke. Yeah, he was unmistakable. Yeah.
No. In the Melody Maker.
I mean, in the advert.
Sorry. I didn't know it was Vince Clarke. No, they said if they didn't find anybody on the weekend, they would call me back. So I didn't think I would hear back from them. So, but then when they called back, they said, "Do you know who Vince Clarke is?" And I said, "Yeah."
So you were a Melody Maker man. I was an NME man.
To be honest, I wasn't any of those music papers.
To be honest, you bought Melody Maker when you were looking for the ads. That's why I bought. When I wanted to join a band, I bought Melody Maker. The rest of the time, I was NME.
And what did it say? Did it say Pink Floyd are looking for a bass player? Is that what it said? But you actually were looking at the ads, hoping that something would come up and change your life.
I was, and all the ad said was established songwriter looking for versatile singer, and that was it.
So you made the call, and did Vince Clarke answer?
No, I think Andy Menzie answered. He was one of our first managers. But he answered, and I decided I was just going to go down to the studio, meet Vince Clarke, and have a really brilliant day that day, and see what happens. And I had a big bright orange and yellow umbrella and went down there. And
funny the things you remember, isn't it?
No, I was right at the end. I was the second from last person.
Paint the picture. So it's raining. Is it raining, or you
just carry a bright yellow and orange umbrella?
Yeah. Where is it?
Well, that was the only one there was. I mean, where I lived, I was really, really lucky when I was in London. London was been so good to me, and I ended up living in this hard-to-let gay squats, which were the last ones in London. So I had, I was getting my education then from like Switchboard, people who worked on Switchboard, people who worked for Shelter, for the Homeless Association. And then you get to meet Vince Clarke, and he's the person that you've been rehearsing along to all these records. And your flatmate said to you, when you're rehearsing to an Alison Moyet record, this is going to be you in 1 year's time.
Wow.
So then I go and see Vince, go to the studio. I think it was in Berwick Street. I'm not sure, but I go to the studio and then and sing "Who Needs Love Like That," and I think it was "One Day," which was the Paul Quinn's Assembly song with Vince. But and I'd never done falsetto. I'd never done falsetto in my life, and it just sprang out of my mouth on that day onto "Who Needs Love Like That," And I was like, oh.
Was Vince playing live in the room, or was it to a backing track and he was just standing?
It was to backing track, but I mean, when you hear those backing tracks now, God knows how I even had an inkling of the song, because there's like 3 lines on there. Just the bass, bit of guitar, and that was basically it,
So you went home thinking, well, that's probably not going to work out, or did you think, no?
Well, I think I had. I just cleared my mind. I hadn't thought either way. I just thought, well, it doesn't matter. If I don't get it, it doesn't matter. Just had a good time. And it was really funny because when I do listen to the tracks now, I can hear in there Buddy Holly and just this like really kind of like innocent. I just don't know where I got the bollocks from to like go and do that. Do you know what I mean? When I hear my voice now, I was so convinced of my voice, and then when I hear it now, I just think, like, God, you must have been on Planet Janet or something.
Is it out there? Did it get released?
It's there, yeah. They had it. It's on some. It was like on a Buried Treasure CD or something.
Amazing.
And had you written songs at this point?
I had written songs, but they weren't really songs. They were more like poems set to music, which I suppose like what songs are. But one of my first ones was I mean, my auntie, she said I used to go around to her house and tell her all poems, which I have no recollection of doing. And,
there must be a book. There must be a notebook somewhere.
I had written some down, but one was like pack of toothpaste, like toothpaste squashing from the tube. Come on, hurry up, White Rabbit. Oh dear, I'm going to be late. That kind of thing.
I like it.
Yeah,
would have been good in the 60s.
Sid Barrett, yeah.
Sid Barrett, exactly. Psychedelic.
Hardly.
But I think what guys trying to, what he's saying is, how did you find your place? Because you're writing immediately with Vince.
Yeah.
I know you said you chucked in those two words, but he wasn't just after someone who could be a voice for his songs, was he?
No, I mean, it's really, I don't know. I think you have like a head for melody. You like in school, it was kind of like, I loved singing hymns in school. We had, and because of Les Dawson, I used to sing them out really loud, off tune on purpose in the school, but like really badly off tune, just so the notes, so it just sounds like you can't sing for life, But anyway, apart from that, was I just sang all the time. It's like when you've like going to the toilet, I would sing the Bleach Bottle.
But what was the first song you wrote together?
The first song we wrote together, that was
proper song.
First song I wrote was Contents May Have Settled During Transit.
Yeah, that was that one. Do not drink. Yeah, that was.
Do not drive or operate heavy machinery.
Guy, that was the notice outside your bunk when we were on tour in the back.
We wrote the song sometimes in King's Cross above Rough Trade. And I remember being with Vince and like seeing Morrissey downstairs, and he was doing a photo session, and I was going to Vince saying, "Oh my God, that's Morrissey's downstairs!" And then Daniel came over to like have a listen to see what we've been doing, and we just sort of finished the demo of Sometimes, and I think. Then you kind of you suggested bass lines, guitar lines, the trumpet solo, all kinds of things, But we did once we'd done the we just pressed play, me and Vince, and left Daniel on his own with the song, and we went down to the pub because we felt it was that good.
I think the other thing is that there's lyrically there was some of those lyrics were a little risque for the time, and I wondered how they ever got played on Radio 1. When you think, talking about having people in your bed and how that.
Oh yeah, to be honest as well, I didn't think about it. Honestly, I didn't. We did songs that we knew probably would be singles, like Hideaway, which was definitely about a guy coming out to his family and stuff. But then with the other songs, I always wanted as well with my voice. I always wanted my voice neither to be male nor female, and also. It came from, I suppose, from being teased as well, from being very young. I thought I was a sex change experiment when I was a kid. the little line that you have around your ball sack. I thought that was like a stitch a scar. It kind of is, because we're all women in the womb, aren't we? We're all girls.
It's a fair point. That's the last. It's a fair point.
I think that's the last bit that gets done when you turn into a boy. That's the last part. So you saw that up your scrotum. Yeah, it's probably got a medical name. Guy would know it. I don't.
Why would I know it?
But you thought that, oh my God, someone has done that to me. Yeah. I remember. Listen, this is too much information, I know. But I remember
go.
I first started feeling my balls as a kid and wondering what they were. I assumed that they must be something to eat if you ever got trapped in the desert. I thought they might be.
That's quite a good one.
Something.
And then he got trapped in the desert the next summer.
Did he?
One, I think. Well, just one.
Did Billy Mackenzie ever come into your? Did you ever listen to the Associates?
He did, yeah. Only one time. I mean, I love Billy. I loved his voice, and he's. I
played on an Associates record, in fact.
Oh my God!
And then he asked. He wanted to borrow. I had this lovely Russian soldier's hat, rabbit fur soldier's hat, and he asked if he could borrow it for the video. And I said, yeah, of course, because you do anything for him. I let him borrow my hat, and he bought me this lovely old collection of Chekhov plays as a thank you.
Oh my God!
I know, yeah.
That's more classy than anything I've ever done for you, I've really got a lot of catching up to do.
Oh no, I mean, with Billy though, I mean, there are some people that you can't go near. And for me, Billy was one of them. I don't mean as a person, but because of his voice. Because his voice was so amazing. And so it was operatic, his voice. And same with David McCalmont. You can't, I can't, you can't.
Hang on a minute. Here we go. He played on a David McCalmont record.
No, David's a very, very, very dear family friend. So,
Well, I mean, he's a voice that you can't touch,
Yeah. When Bowie died, there was a thing at the Union Chapel that happened like 5 days afterwards. People got together who were sort of grieving to just play and talk about Bowie and stuff. And I went and played and talked a bit. But David McCalmont, if you can find it on YouTube, David McCalmont sings a version of Sweet Thing on there, which is like nothing you've ever heard. It's just the most extraordinary version of that song ever.
I love that Sweet Thing candidate, Sweet Thing. Oh, so good. Daniel Miller. Just want to bring people up to speed about this guy because what he's done in music is extraordinary, isn't it? And I remember the first time I came to hear of him was when he had that band The Normal back in 1978, and he started Mute Records, and it was a single that came up. So I have here Warm Leatherette, which he wrote, and which Grace Jones went on to cover, and also TVOD, which I think might have been the flip side of that as well. And going down to those sort of early, the Blitz clubs and Billy's and Rusty Egan as the DJ, that was the real one of the main soundtracks that was always played. And then he goes on to develop Mute and Depeche, get signed, and New Guys, and I mean, myriad of artists. I mean, I think he had Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds on there as well. I mean, what's he like? What's he like? Because he's really been in charge of electro synth pop since the late 70s.
I mean, he's really incredible. I didn't realise how of what like an amazing person he is. And with as far as music goes, and the whole setup, the whole Mute setup, and the artists that he signs. I only heard Diamanda Gallas through Mute Records, because she had an office there, and loads of the bands I didn't get them, because to me they were kind of so far out there.
Robin Gristle,
that I didn't get them. I met them, in the studio, and I met the Genesis Peorage, and I was like, wow, hi, how are you? Who are you? I'm like shaking their hands and
I'm the biggest freak you've ever going to meet.
Yeah. And but I didn't realise what kind of like groundbreaking people that I was meeting, and that they were all signed through Mute,
he keeps it very well hidden.
Yes, and he's in that way he's very much like Vince. I mean, they're really close, like Gareth Jones. They kind of I don't know, they have this affinity that's to do with music and to do with synths. That's where I kind of I'm not in the club because I'm not a synth person. I'm not a synth collector. But I don't know. He's kind of kept this enigma around him. He is almost inapproachable. And I don't think he's not that he does that on purpose. It's just that's what he's like.
And not ready to retire. He's in his 70s now, isn't he?
No, I don't think so. No, I mean he DJs at Berghain, for goodness sake. Yeah.
And Vince is really into his analog, isn't he? His pre-MIDI kind of keyboards.
He loves it. I really, really appreciate it. I love electronic music, but as you say, when you're sitting there and it's like 8 hours or more on a, I mean that's what they do. That's what they do, and it's kind of. But
I've had that with that thing. And the thing is that, and they're working on the sound, and there's something absolutely fundamental to them, and you just can't hear it. You can't hear what it is that's happening.
I always want to know that point. I want to know that point, where that point is in their head or their body. that when they say this is it, this is the sound. And I always want to say to them, it was 20 minutes ago. It was that one. You know that sound you had 20 minutes ago? That sort of like sound. That was it. But they don't. All part of the pleasure for them is bending these
journey
and twisting them around. Yeah. They love it.
I think that's what makes Erasure work in a very special way, because it's this paradox in a way where you've got the synthesizer with its, whatever way you spin it, it has a cold, automated feel to it. Yeah. And then you've got your very emotive, pulling on the heartstrings type melodies, though that almost Cole Porter at times, and that combination of the two is always working, against each other in a good way, and I think that's what people dig about it.
Oh, it's lovely. I kind of, I'm waiting. I mean, we will do it one day, but it was like, Vince said, what do you want for your 40th birthday? And I said, well, I would love to be able to come on stage in a music box, and then like Trumpton, and then you come up, the character comes up, and you're the character I'm the character that comes up out of the box. But when I come up out of the box, your synthesizer sounds, they're all created out of laser beams, and all the laser beams are going to be fired at the glitter ball, and the glitter ball's going to so you're kind of like one of those little it always reminds me of a music box with the little wheel going around and the comb on the wheel.
My mum had a ballet dancer, and she had a jewel box. It up, and there was a little ballerina that went around, and all of those little keys used to flick and play.
Yeah, so that's what it kind of reminds me of, when we're performing. And I said to Vince, we should do a tour where we do a tour by steam engine, and he creates the plates for the steam engine, which they're all cut out. The notes are cut out on these big cardboard pieces, and we just drive around the country, and it will take us like 20 years to do this tour.
Brilliant.
Because touring is what
But this is what I wanted to get onto, but it is that because you had this first album and it didn't happen, and so then you just hit the road. And what interests me is you're a synth duo, and at this point not particularly successful with a budget or anything. So how do you hit the road? What does that entail?
Well, in the beginning, I mean, Vince programmed the lights. He programmed everything. It was all on it. He had it,
and it's just the two of you.
Yeah, it was just the two of us and two singers. And it was kind of, I was thinking, I wish you wouldn't try and program the lights as well, because everything's so kind of like what clockwork kind of thing. And the BBC computers, they were almost clockwork. So it was like that. It was like that, ones and twos and just numbers going up and down and like.
But because I saw a thing of you live in '88, and he had the computer there, didn't he? Yeah. That's a big stage by then.
I think it was quite reliable, actually. The system was, but if one thing broke in the line, that was it. You were buggered.
You're really famous.
And what would happen? What would happen when that happened? If that did happen?
Well, I mean, that's why I started dressing up and stuff, was because my personality wasn't big enough to
cut your way through it,
carry a show. So I had in the beginning I was doing Alison Way impersonations, which wasn't very nice, but then doing I don't know, just starting to tell jokes and stuff like that. I mean, I'm rubbish at telling jokes, so I just started developing this alter ego and kind of like and banter with Vince, and kind of putting him down a bit on stage, I suppose, and just this sort of not real conversation, but we just get in hysterics. We still do to this day.
But do you come up with most of those ideas for the shows? Because
you have to. Yeah, it's like it's ad lib. You have to.
I mean the productions. Are they?
Oh, the production. Yeah, mostly. Mostly. Yeah. It's like, I mean, sometimes it's mostly in the beginning. It's mine. Yeah, but then you hand it over because I don't know logistically how to make screw together.
It's like the new tour. I saw a clip of the new shows because you went out last year, didn't you? And the new lighting show looks amazing.
Oh, it is amazing. I mean, I get blown away when I see it. Because you're in it, you don't see it. But then when you get to see it, photos and stuff, I thought, wow, they've got it like it looks like Poirot with H.G. Wells.
And I haven't seen the new tour. How big do you have much of a band? And because you take like a drummer and singers out.
There's no band, but we've got there's no band, but there's 6 lorries for the production. So it's all, you know. I mean, Vince has his synths to a minimum on the stage, you know. So everything is programmed, but it's always freshly programmed each time. It's not like, you know, it's not like
I love that. Just freshly programmed every day. Look, there's a new batch.
Well, every day.
Artisan programmed synths.
Sourdough profit.
Yeah, it's a work in progress the whole time. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. And we have our singers, we have the stage props, and that's it.
I must say, actually, in the current climate, that puts you at a real advantage. The less people you've got in that core party,
less people to get sick.
Manage. Yeah.
It is. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but that's true.
But I suppose you were. Must have been an element at some stage when you were in deep competition with the Pet Shop Boys. You know, they're another 2-piece, another doing electro.
Yeah.
Extravagant shows. I mean, was it sort of you sending your spies out to see what they were doing? And
you were a long time before them, though, weren't you? You were before them.
I mean, the
Pet Shop Boys, they resisted touring for a long time.
Yeah, I do find it very difficult to talk about them because I can't help to get jealous by them.
It's like me and Simon Le Bon, you know.
I mean, you know, I always wish them the very best and stuff, you know, but we are a totally different creature from them.
Yeah,
we really are. You know?
Yeah, no, I think I get that. What was even more different was which actually blew my mind, because I have to tell you, Andy, I had no idea you made that record and that you went out and you did the live country album.
Oh yeah,
Nashville.
That was great on the
show.
Road to Nashville.
Road to Nashville, and you covered a lot of your stuff. I mean, I mean, Blue Savannah is ridiculous. I mean, they're straight out of Nashville. How was that? So you enrolled a lot of country players, and why did you go to do that?
I mean, Vince knew some people when he was living in Brooklyn. He knew some people that were fresh out of Nashville that lived in Brooklyn as well. So, and they knew other people, you know. So we had this idea. Well, I wanted to do a country album anyway, so because I've always loved it. And then so we had this idea of getting some of our lesser known ballads and then turning them into country songs, and that's what we did. You know, they were amazingly arranged for us. We played at Ryman's Auditorium. To be an electronic band and to go and play there and have it filmed,
amazing,
is mind blowing. Yeah.
And what did your fans think of it? Were they did they feel like you?
Well, it was the very first time that we played in Nashville, and I think we've only played there once ever since. So
I was going to say, what did the country community think of it? Was there a thing of were you stepping on any toes there?
I don't think so. I mean, they were very kind. You know, they're really kind and very accommodating. It really opened my eyes. It really did. You know, we love going to Nashville. Me and my partner, we love going there.
Can I ask this question? Is there a gay country scene? Is there a gay country artist? It seems like such a macho business, doesn't it?
I'm sure there is, but I haven't been privy to it so far.
But it's not really the thing. I wouldn't have thought down there, is it? You know?
I wouldn't say no. I'm sure they know. I mean, you know, it's everywhere. You know.
But your voice was incredible on that record. I mean,
thank you.
You seem to slot into that so easily. You know, obviously, it goes back to your mum and dad's record collection at some point. I would have thought.
Yeah, and then being the K.D. Lang fan as well. You know, this absolute torch and twang, amazing.
Yeah, you know? Andy, we're really we're kind of jealous. We are that you're going out on this on tour.
Oh well, I mean, I'm just hoping it's all going to be fine.
Well, you have to.
Well, you know, yes, of course. That's all you can do, isn't it?
Yeah. But we are in a bubble, and it will be very tight. And I mean, God bless the fans for coming, and I hope they can keep safe as well the whole time.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you, guys.
That's been really lovely talking to you. Really nice.
And and have you got some new material? Because you guys don't stop writing.
We haven't. No, we just had our EP. Oh, we have got some new material, but it's kind of like bit parts from the Neon that Vince has taken and re-swirled into another project. You know what he's like.
It's been a great pleasure to have you on. I mean, I'm jealous of the fact that you just keep this band going and you keep making music and you're still in the charts and it hasn't stopped for you. And that boy who walked into that audition in Berwick Street or wherever it was, I bet you couldn't have believed that it would ever turn out as good as this.
Well, Gary and Guy, I mean, that's the only thing that keeps me sane, to be honest, is doing this.
Oh, lovely to have you on.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you so much.
For all the very, very best for the tour, mate. Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, that was nice to see someone in nice, hot, sunny Miami, wasn't it? All right for some.
But listen, he's on an American tour. He's got to be wearing his Arctic expedition clothes within a couple of days, don't we? And of course, you had all yours packed and ready.
So ready, mate. I have been fretting for months over getting my packing ready. You would have known it was going to be a marvel.
And
expedition weight.
I'd spent a fortune at auction. I brought Shackleton's boots. Scott of the Antarctic's diaries were coming with me. I was going to add to them, of course.
I've got Amundson's lucky rabbit paw.
I wondered what you were stroking throughout that interview. Andy was really nice. I really enjoyed that. Such a nice, straightforward, down-to-earth guy. And I wish them luck with their tour. And obviously, if you haven't seen a glimpse of this new show, then go on YouTube and have a look. It's worth it.
So, and next week there'll be some fun. Subscribe, leave reviews, and the usual.
Yeah.
And Happy New Year, I guess. I mean, I don't know when you see this, but it certainly is. It certainly will be in the year after the last one you heard. I expect, won't it? I don't know. I'm not.
In the year 2525.
Yeah, exactly.
If man is still alive.
Yeah. And with that,
it's good night from her.
And good night from them.